Episode 7. The Clock That Lied. The station clock was wrong. Not subtly, not debatably. Wrong in a way that forced a decision. Ethan stood beneath it, eyes fixed on the black metal hands as they ticked forward with stubborn confidence. The numbers were bold, authoritative, designed to be trusted without question. Commuters glanced up at it reflexively, adjusted their pace, checked their phones, and hesitated. Phones disagreed. Watches disagreed. The digital display near the ticket office flashed 4:24, while the clock above insisted it was 4:26. For a few seconds, people did what they always did when technology disagreed. They waited. Then someone laughed nervously. Someone else muttered about bad reception. A man tapped his phone twice, as if the screen were at fault. No one accused the clock. Not yet. Ethan felt the familiar pressure rise. Sharper now, more insistent. This wasn't a private contradiction. This was public friction. Time wasn't slipping quietly anymore. It was being challenged. The woman stood beside him, gaze steady on the clock's face. "This is where trust fractures," she said. Ethan didn't look away. "They'll fix it." "Yes," she replied, "but not by telling the truth." By evening, the city chose its version. A brief announcement played over the station speakers, calm and rehearsed, blaming a synchronization issue. Staff were instructed to follow the central time feed, displayed on the digital boards. The analog clock was deemed temporarily inaccurate. A worker arrived with a ladder and a small toolkit. People watched, not closely, but enough. The worker climbed, opened the clock's casing, and adjusted the hands. When he descended, the clock matched the digital boards exactly. Relief rippled outward. Ethan felt it like a pressure release. The lie had been corrected by authority. The woman exhaled slowly. "That's the first one." Ethan frowned. "First what?" "First public lie," she said. "Once you choose which time is real, you teach people how to obey it." The next morning, the school ran late. Not by much. Not enough to cause alarm. The bell rang 30 seconds after the digital board claimed it should have. Teachers glanced at their watches, then at the clock on the wall, then shrugged and began class. Ethan noticed everything. The wall clock in his first class lagged behind the hallway clock by nearly a minute. In the science wing, the digital display advanced too quickly, skipping a second every few minutes. The discrepancies were small, but they were consistent. Patterns again. Claire leaned over during second period. "My watch is wrong," she whispered. "Which way?" Ethan asked quietly. "All of them," she said, "depending on where I am." The pressure behind Ethan's eyes flared briefly, then settled. Time was being enforced unevenly now, stitched together with decisions rather than rules. That never held for long. By lunchtime, rumors circulated. Not about time, about discipline. A teacher in the West Wing had stopped class mid-lecture, insisting the bell hadn't rung yet. Students argued back, pointing to their phones. The argument ended when administration intervened. The teacher apologized. The bell was declared correct. Ethan understood then. Authority wasn't correcting time. It was correcting people. He found the woman again near the transit station that afternoon, standing beneath a smaller clock mounted above an old timetable. It read 2:11. Ethan's phone read 2:10. She didn't comment. "They'll standardize," Ethan said. "Pick one feed, one source." She nodded. "They already have." "Then why does it still feel wrong?" "Because synchronization hides contradiction," she replied. "It doesn't remove it." Ethan felt the weight of that settle into him. "What happens when synchronization fails?" he asked. She met his eyes. "People freeze." The message arrived during last period. Not on Ethan's phone. On the projector. The teacher paused mid-sentence as the screen flickered. A line of text appeared briefly, black on white, then vanished. "Follow the clock." A few students laughed. Someone joked about glitches. The teacher frowned, tapped the remote, and continued. Ethan didn't laugh. The pressure surged sharply, then receded. Time had spoken publicly. The freeze began subtly. A student raised her hand to ask a question and stopped halfway, arms suspended awkwardly in the air. She blinked, confused, then slowly lowered it, embarrassed. Another student stared at the board too long, missing 3 lines of notes without realizing it. A pencil dropped and took too long to hit the floor. Seconds stretched unevenly. The bell rang. Late. No one commented. Ethan felt his heart pounding as he packed his bag. Claire caught his eye, fear clear on her face. "Something's wrong," she mouthed. He nodded. That evening, the city's clocks aligned. Digital displays updated simultaneously. Public transport announced minor schedule adjustments to improve accuracy. News anchors reassured viewers that all systems were functioning normally. Ethan watched the broadcast without sound. The woman's words echoed in his mind. "Once you choose which time is real, you teach people how to obey it." His phone vibrated. Unknown number. "Compliance has increased." Ethan typed back, "Because you forced it." The reply came instantly, "Because they prefer certainty to contradiction." Ethan clenched his jaw. What happens when certainty breaks? A pause. Then time must stop people, not moments. At 3:06 a.m., Ethan was awake. The clock on his wall ticked loudly, each second landing with authority. His phone lay beside him, dark but alert. 3:07. Nothing froze. Instead, the ticking stopped. Not the clock. The room. Sound vanished. The fan halted mid-turn. The air thickened, heavy and still. Ethan tried to move. He couldn't. His thoughts raced, clear and panicked, trapped inside a body that refused to respond. The pressure behind his eyes was unbearable now, a crushing insistence. The clock's second hand moved. Once. Then again. Time advanced while Ethan remained still. Then, just as suddenly, everything released. Sound rushed back. The fan resumed. Ethan gasped, collapsing forward as sensation returned. The clock read 3:08. His phone read 3:09. 2 truths, both enforced. Ethan's phone vibrated. Unknown number. This is the cost of alignment. Ethan stared at the wall clock, breath shaking. Time hadn't frozen the moment. It had frozen him. The next morning it happened again. Not to Ethan. In class, a student stood to answer a question and stopped mid-sentence. Mouth open, eyes unfocused. The room went silent as seconds passed. Too many seconds. Then the student blinked and sat down abruptly. Confused, embarrassed, unable to explain what had happened. The teacher laughed it off. Class continued. Ethan felt the pressure surge violently. This wasn't desynchronization. This was enforcement. He found the woman waiting near the school gates after the bell rang. "They've crossed it," Ethan said. She nodded. "Now you see why clocks mattered." "What happens next?" Ethan asked. She looked past him toward the building. "Now time stops pretending it's about minutes." Ethan followed her gaze. Through the classroom windows, he saw students settling into their seats for the next period, unaware of how close they were to the edge. The bell rang, and did not end. The bell kept ringing. Not loudly, not urgently. It rang the way bells always did. Steady, familiar, unquestioned. A sound meant to organize, not alarm. Ethan sat frozen in his chair as the tone continued past its usual length. At first, no one noticed. Students shuffled their bags, stood, talked over it. Then the sound didn't stop. 10 seconds. 15. 20. The teacher frowned, tapping the console on her desk. "That's strange," she muttered. The bell rang on. Something tightened in Ethan's chest. This wasn't a malfunction. It was insistence. The bell finally stopped. Class moved on. But something had already shifted. The next freeze lasted longer. It happened during math, halfway through a sentence. A boy near the window raised his hand to ask a question. His mouth opened and stayed open. His arm remained lifted, fingers trembling slightly, as if caught between intention and action. The room fell silent. Someone laughed nervously. "Dude." Nothing. Seconds stretched. The boy's eyes were open, unfocused, staring at nothing. No blinking, no movement. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, the only sound in the room. Ethan felt the pressure surge violently behind his eyes. Then release. The boy dropped his arm, inhaled sharply, and looked around, confused. "What?" he asked. The teacher laughed too quickly. "You okay?" "Yeah," he said slowly. "I just spaced out." The class accepted it. Ethan did not. By midday, the freezes spread. Not everywhere. Not predictably. A girl paused mid-step in the hallway, backpack sliding slowly off her shoulder as she remained still for several seconds. A teacher stopped writing on the board, marker hovering inches from the surface, before resuming without comment. Always brief. Always excusable. Time wasn't stopping people completely. It was interrupting them. Testing. Ethan found Claire in the stairwell, her face pale. "It happened to me," she whispered. His stomach dropped. "How long?" "I don't know," she said. "I was walking to class and then nothing. Next thing I knew, I was standing there and everyone was staring." "Did you feel anything?" Ethan asked. She nodded slowly. "Like pressure. Like being held in place without being touched." Ethan closed his eyes briefly. This wasn't correction. This was rehearsal. That evening, the city complied. Digital clocks updated in perfect unison. Phones synced automatically. Public announcements reassured citizens that all systems were functioning within normal parameters. Ethan watched from his room. The glow of the screen reflected faintly on the wall clock. For the first time, both matched exactly. He felt no relief. His phone vibrated. Unknown number. Synchronization successful. Ethan typed back. "At what cost?" The reply came immediately. "Flow is inefficient. Stability requires pauses." Ethan's hands shook. "You're stopping people." Pause. Then, "We are preventing divergence." Ethan set the phone down. The clock ticked. Each second felt heavier than the last. He went to the transit station after sunset. The woman was there, standing beneath the main clock, watching commuters move in precise, orderly lines. "They're practicing," Ethan said quietly. She nodded. "Freezing is safer than erasing. People recover." "For now," Ethan said. She glanced at him. "You're starting to see it." "See what?" he asked. "That time doesn't want obedience," she replied. "It wants predictability." A train arrived exactly on schedule. People boarded without hesitation. Not one person checked their watch. That night, the longest freeze yet occurred. Ethan felt it before it happened. The air tightening, the pressure building, the sense of something narrowing its focus. He was brushing his teeth when his hand stopped mid-motion. The toothbrush hovered inches from his mouth. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. He couldn't blink. Panic surged through his thoughts, sharp and immediate. He could feel his heart racing, his lungs straining for breath, but his body refused to respond. The clock in the hallway ticked. Once, twice, 3 times. Each second landed like a decision being made. Then release. Ethan collapsed against the sink, gasping, his reflection staring back at him wide-eyed and terrified. The clock read 11:42. His phone read 11:44. 2 minutes gone. Not missing. Taken. He didn't sleep. At 3:06, the room grew heavy. At 3:07, nothing froze. Instead, the clock ticked louder. The phone screen lit up. Unknown number. Resistance increases instability. Ethan whispered, "You're afraid." The reply came after a pause. "Fear is irrelevant. Deviation is not." Ethan laughed softly, a brittle sound. "You can't pause everyone forever." Another pause. Then, "We can pause enough." The clock skipped. 3:09. Ethan's breath hitched. Time wasn't just lying now. It was choosing. The breaking point came the next morning. First period. The bell rang. Class began. 5 minutes in, it happened. Not to one student. Not to 2. To the entire room. Ethan felt it instantly. A crushing pressure. A sudden immobility. Every sound vanished. Every movement stopped. Pens froze above notebooks. I stared forward, unblinking. The clock on the wall continued to tick. Ethan could not move, but he could think. And he realized, with sudden clarity, that this was no longer testing. This was control. The clock ticked. Once, twice, 3 times. Then the door opened. Sound rushed back. Students blinked, confused, voices overlapping in nervous laughter and questions. What just happened? Did you feel that? Why was it so quiet? The teacher stood frozen at the front of the room for an extra second before shaking herself and forcing a smile. Settle down, she said. You're all fine. But her hands were shaking. Ethan felt the pressure recede, leaving behind a hollow certainty. This was it. This was the line. He left class without asking permission. No one stopped him. In the hallway, students were already talking. Quietly, urgently, no longer pretending nothing had happened. It wasn't just me. I couldn't move. I thought I passed out. The idea was spreading faster than time could correct it. Ethan ran. He found the woman near the school gates, watching the building with grim focus. It froze us, Ethan said. All of us. She nodded. That's why clocks mattered. What happens now? He asked. She didn't answer immediately. Then, now time has to choose between flow and obedience. And, Ethan pressed. She met his eyes. It will choose obedience. The bell rang again, and did not stop. Inside the building, classrooms fell silent one by one. Not screaming, not panicking, freezing. Ethan felt the pressure surge again, stronger than ever, wrapping around the building like a tightening grip. His phone vibrated violently. Unknown number. This is containment. Ethan stared at the doors, at the windows, at the people inside who no longer moved. No, he whispered. This is imprisonment. The reply appeared slowly. This is necessary. Ethan understood then. When memory failed, time adapted. When clocks lied, authority intervened. When people resisted, time stopped them.